Rogue Sun, issue number 29 from Image Comics. So we start off on a yacht where Juliet is talking to two people who work with the Syntheon. It turns out that she is a major shareholder. And just a super quick recap, in the last issue, we had Noxious, who is a villain that kills people with noxious gas, and he's going after people high up in the Syntheon company. And the reason for this is because his wife and his daughter had cancer, and they could have gotten treatment, but the Syntheon company basically refused to help cover for it. They basically denied the family being able to get the treatment, and because of that, they died. And now Noxious is getting revenge. So Juliet is pretty much upset that not only are people going after the Syntheon, shareholders and higher ups, but they're doing it because you guys are basically monsters. You're allowing people to die when you could have been helping them. And she just talks about how her husband's the one that invested in this company and passed it down to her. So basically, it's kind of painting her as she's completely innocent. She has nothing whatsoever to do with Syntheon. She's not the one that invested in it. It was Marcus who did. And when it passed on to her after his death, she basically remained a silent partner and just kind of stayed out of the business. And that's when Noxious shows up and he kills one of the people, and then he goes to targets Juliet and the other guy. When Aurie shows up and pretty much says, I understand why you're doing what you're doing. Like, you have my sympathies, but no more death, no more destruction. This ends tonight. And that's when we cut to Dylan, who is watching Kamen Rider. I believe this is Kamen Rider Black or Kamen Rider RX. But Brock shows up, and Brock's the one that convinces Dylan to go help Aurie. So in the last issue, Dylan basically gave up being a rogue son, at least for this villain. Maybe he didn't give it up for good, but he's pretty much said, yeah, I don't want to go after Noxious. Like, I completely sympathize with Noxious. I think what he's doing, like, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to fight monsters. I'm not here to fight people who are getting revenge for the death of their family. Like, I think he deserves his revenge. So if you want to go after Noxious, you're on your own. But Brock is the one that basically points out that he is in the wrong and that he's basically throwing Aurie into the deep end and seeing if she drowns, which is exactly what Marcus would do. And that pisses off Dylan because he doesn't want to be compared to Marcus. So he goes to help her. Speaking of Marcus, Marcus is fighting Caleb. And they're basically fighting about how Caleb believes that Aurie is the one that should have been the rogue son. Meanwhile, Marcus believes that Dylan should be the rogue son. Or Marcus doesn't want Aurie to become a rogue son, basically. And Caleb talks about how, like, when he passed on his powers, he held tournaments to choose his successor, like the bravest, the most noble. And you just pawn it off on your son like an old horse. Meanwhile, the perfect candidate was sleeping right under your roof. And Caleb is pissed off because he's like, we believe that Aurie can do good. We believe that she deserves to be the rogue son. And even if we don't win with Aurie, we know for sure that we're going to lose with Dylan. But Marcus disagrees. Marcus basically says, Dylan is a arrogant, self-centered pain in the ass. But unlike you and I and Aurie, who were trained our entire lives to see monsters, that kid just sees people. Broken and lost just like him. We've been fighting this war the same way for generations. Maybe he's the change we need. And I'm like, you know what? This could have been perfect if you actually went through with it. But you didn't. And here's why it doesn't work with me. We have Aurie. Aurie is fighting Noxious. Aurie is trying to talk him down. Aurie is basically trying to say no more death. We even have a point where Noxious starts destroying this yacht. And the yacht's slowly sinking. We even have a part where part of the yacht falls on Juliet, and she's trapped, and she's slowly drowning. And Aurie doesn't freak out or anything. She's completely calm, and she talks Noxious down. She basically says, what about the families of the men you've killed? What if they were here right now? What would your family say about it? That woman drowning is innocent. She's someone's daughter or someone's mother. Would your wife and daughter want her to die in their name, to see anyone else suffer like they did? And she is able to talk Noxious down. Noxious, instead of letting them die, he uses his powers to pull them out of the yacht. So she does the talk no jutsu. It works. One of the Syntheon members shoots Noxious from behind, and then Dylan shows up to knock him out. Here's why it doesn't work for me. You just had Marcus saying how Aurie and Caleb and Marcus were trained to see monsters, but Dylan just sees people. You know what it would have been better? If instead of Aurie being here to talk him down, to talk Noxious down, instead of Aurie being completely calm that her mom is slowly dying, she's slowly drowning, what if she gave in to some anger? She was trained her whole life to see monsters according to Marcus. What if she sees Noxious as the monster? She can be like, you know what? I empathized with you. I understand that your wife and your daughter are dead. And these people had a hand in it. But you're also going after people who didn't have a hand in it. And because of that, you've become a monster. And it's my job to put you down. And then when she sees the fact that her mother is slowly dying in front of her, instead of just being completely calm about it, what if she freaks out? This is her mom. She loves her mom. If my mom was slowly dying in front of me because of some asshole, I'm not going to be trying to talk this asshole down. I'm going to try to kill this son of a bitch so I can save my mom. What if Aurie did that? What if Aurie is like, this guy's a monster. I've been trained to see monsters. He's one. Let's go after him. And then Dylan shows up, and Dylan, who, as Marcus has said, does not see monsters, but instead sees people, broken people, like him. Dylan is the one that talks Noxious down, and he also has to talk Aurie down from trying to kill this guy. Then you showed the dynamic between the two of them. You showed that Aurie is trained to see monsters. She sees these people as monsters. Yeah, they have sad, tragic backstories. That doesn't stop them from being evil. You can have a sad backstory but still be a villain. And that's how Aurie sees Noxious as. Meanwhile, Dylan is like, no, I get this guy has done some villainous things, but it's because he's broken. And he's broken because his wife and daughter were killed when they could have been possibly saved. This guy isn't evil. He's just sad and broken. And it's our jobs as heroes to fix him. And so Dylan is the one that convinces Noxious, this isn't what your family would want. This is not what your wife and daughter would want you to do. They wouldn't want you to throw your life away and kill a bunch of innocent people in their name. And so he convinces Noxious to turn himself in. And then you could have this dynamic where Dylan is trying to help the villains. Aurie sees them kind of as villains, and they kind of butt heads for a bit, and the arc will be them growing. Maybe it could be Aurie discovering that, you know what, maybe Dylan's right. Maybe not all villains are bad. Some of them are just broken, and not all of them deserve to die. Some of them deserve a chance at redemption. Meanwhile, Dylan can learn that, you know what, maybe not all villains are just broken people. Maybe some of them are just truly villain, and some of them need to be stopped permanently. That could have been something that you did. But instead, Aurie fixes everything. So you had the whole, maybe Dylan is the better choice because he sees things differently and he would fight the villains in a different way. And maybe that's what we need, because me and you, Caleb, we've been fighting villains for generations and generations, centuries and centuries, the same way, and nothing has ever changed. So maybe we need a different perspective on how to fight villains. Except that Aurie does that. She talks Noxious down. So you completely took that cool theme. Like, that was a really cool line, and you could have done something with it. But then you completely threw it away by having Aurie be the one that did it, when it would have made a lot more sense if Dylan was the one to do it. If Dylan is the one that tries to talk Noxious down. Meanwhile, Aurie is the one that continues to fight the way Caleb did, that continues to fight the way her dad did, and that's just fighting villains. There's a villain there, I'm going to fight him. I don't care what his backstory is. I don't care about any of that. He's a villain. He's killing people. Let's put him down. That's the way that she was raised. That's the way she saw her dad do it. That's the way Caleb was teaching her how to do it. It would have made a lot more sense if she did it here, especially when she sees that this guy is trying to kill her mom. Her mom is literally slowly drowning in front of her, but none of that bothers her whatsoever. She's completely fine with that. Instead, she continues to try to talk him down. It would have made a lot more sense for Dylan to show up earlier, and he's the one that talks Noxious down, while Aurie's the one that's trying to stop him, the way that she's seen her dad do all her life, the way that Caleb has been training her to do. That's why this doesn't work with me. I thought this issue had a lot of good ideas, and then they completely threw them away. It fell flat with me. I've kind of just been hammering on this entire video, but again, this would have worked a lot better if Dylan is the one that showed up and talked Noxious down, rather than just showing up at the end to knock out the Syntheon employee. It would have made a lot more sense, and it would have connected a lot more to what Marcus was saying about how Dylan does things differently. But instead, Aurie is doing things differently. She's not doing things the way that that she was raised to see how Marcus did. She's not doing things the way that Caleb has been teaching her how to do. She's basically doing what Marcus says that Dylan would do. Instead, Dylan isn't doing that. Aurie's doing that. So what's the point of Dylan? What's his arc going to be if Aurie's literally doing what he should have been? So yeah, I didn't care for this. I thought this had a good idea that was completely dropped. I don't even want to say it was poorly executed because you didn't even try to execute it. You had this great idea, this great line, and you completely went nowhere with it. In fact, you did the opposite. You instead had Aurie do it when it should have been Dylan. So now it feels like Dylan is kind of just, he's almost like the sidekick in this issue. Aurie's the one doing everything. And here's the thing. I don't mind Aurie having powers and helping and stuff like that. I think Dylan should be the only rogue son. I would have liked if Aurie got powers some other way. You know what it would have been interesting? What if some of the powers that Aurie got was from Dylan's mom? I know Dylan's mom is trapped in the gem, but what if some of her powers remains in the Earth dimension or whatever you want to call it? It basically remained on Earth. And Aurie is the one that found it. Like she found some of it. It granted her some powers. And now she sees Dylan's mom. You could have had this whole interesting dynamic where Dylan's mom has to train the daughter of her ex-husband who abandoned her. Meanwhile, Aurie has to be trained by the ex-wife that her father abandoned. And now she gets to see things from their point of view. Because she still doesn't fully understand like the things that Dylan went through and why he's so pissed off at Marcus. You could have had a reason why. You could have shown like maybe Dylan's mom basically just kind of shares like what she had to go through, the struggles that she had to go through when her husband abandoned her for her mom, how the struggle of raising a kid as a single mom while being super poor. Meanwhile, your ex-husband is the city's hero, married to a woman with a lot of money, and not once did he ever give her any money. Like not once did he ever pay any child support whatsoever. So you could have just had this where she's now seeing her dad in a different light and she can try to like empathize with Dylan more by being trained by Dylan's mom. And so then you could have had this whole interesting dynamic where Dylan is being trained by his dad who has abandoned him and who he hates. Meanwhile, Aurie is being trained by the woman that hates her dad, who she completely idolizes. She completely idolizes her dad, and now she gets to get slapped in the face with reality about her dad not being perfect. You could have done something cool like that. But instead, you gave her rogue powers, and you're making her basically go on Dylan's journey. She's the one that's talking the villains down from being evil. Instead of, as Marcus said, she was trained her whole life. She was raised to see the monsters as monsters. You've been training her to see them as monsters. Dylan doesn't see them as monsters. He sees them as broken people. Oh, never mind. Aurie sees them as broken people too, and she convinces them to step down. So yeah, I didn't care for this issue. I thought that it took the interesting idea and it just completely threw it away, and I'm not a fan of it. But you tell me what you think. You agree with me? Disagree? I would like to hear your thoughts. But there you go. There's Rogue Son, issue number 29. I didn't like it, but maybe the next one will be better. Apparently the next issue is going to deal with Spawn, so that's going to be interesting. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.